Hi there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's a really exciting day because we get to look at a brand new full suspension trail bike. And here to talk us through it is mountain biking royalty, Nick Craig.
Thank you.
Nick, as a cross-country and gravel legend, a full suspension e-bike was the last thing I was expecting you to bring down for us today. It looks incredible. Tell me what you bought for us.
So this is the Voltage. It's our 160, 155 in the rear platform. We did a lightweight e-bike in the previous year with the Lumen, and it was a natural progression for us to take the lightweight E to something with some more travel, so a bit more relaxed, a bit more fun, and yeah, it's a genius with some power.
You said it's a lightweight trail e-bike. It's got quite a compact looking battery and motor in there. What's in there?
So we've used the TQ HPR 50. It's a well tried and tested system. It's tiny. You can see well, you can hardly see it. It's really light. It's really quiet, and it's really a real natural feel. So that system works really well for me, and it works really well in this bike. The motor actually weighs 1.85 kilos.
Wow, so that is very, very light.
Yeah, super light. The battery itself in the down tube here is a 360 watt-hour battery,
okay.
And yeah, it's a good system.
Okay, so one of the first things that our viewers will be asking is sort of what kind of mileage or what kind of range, what kind of riding time can I expect out of a system like this on this bike?
So on a bike like this, obviously, you know, you've got some grip, and you know you're going to be. It's really difficult to actually put a number on it without the range extender, which we'll talk about in a bit. So this slides off. So with the 360, I would think that if I rode up and down, up and down, up and down everywhere, I'd probably expect to get 20, 21 miles out of it. It's all relevant to rider weight, terrain,
conditions on the day.
Yeah, conditions. 100%. There's so many factors that could alter that number. Mm-hmm. But also then with the range extender, which is 160, giving a total of 520 on this bike as you see it now, yep. I could easily be out for a ride for 28 miles in the Peak District where I live, which is pretty, I think here down in the Gower, it's more up and downy trails. Yeah. And you know, I'm sort of more, we live at the bottom of a mountain, so it's quite easily do 28 miles, 5,500 feet. And yeah, it's the main difference with a lightweight e-bike on a TQ system is like the Voltage is that really there's not the same battery anxiety. So once the battery's gone flat, there's virtually no friction. The bike rides really nice, and this bike without the range extender, without the pedals, as you see it, is set up tubeless, 17.9 kilos.
Wow. Okay, so it's a very striking and futuristic looking design. What kind of features can we expect to find in this? What kind of technology is in the new eRIDE?
So one of the biggest challenges I think for the engineers that worked on this bike was to make everything work integrated. And as you can see, it's super slick. We needed to make it so the access to the shock, so when a shock's inside a bike, we get, you know, there's always going to be people saying, oh, that must be really difficult to work on, or why put it inside the bike? The service intervals are a lot longer. It adds to the stiffness of the frame, so when you trunnion mount a shock into a carbon frame, it means you can see that the lines of the carbon fibre follow without actually diving inwards. So we can make the frame it's like a box section that's really smooth, and when those lines are kept straight, the engineers that do all this stuff can make it lightweight and super strong. And then when you bolt the shock into its trunnion mount setting, you're literally stiffening it even more, and it's kept clean. So what's really cool with this bike is underneath here, you spin a little dial, you drop the hatch out, and you can adjust the shock pressure, You can adjust the low speed and high speed compression, and it's totally accessible to the underneath of the bike, from the underneath of the bike. With 4 screws, you could then drop the whole cover from here to here off, and at that point then you can see where the dropper's routed. There's a nice little cover around the shock to keep any cables and hoses away from the shock itself, so there's no shock rub, and it's totally serviceable from there. It's really quite easy.
And it's super easy to see your sag with the sag meter on the side of the bike as well. There's no having to look at the shock inside of the frame.
Yeah, so one thing there is there's a slider, so you just slide it onto 0, sit on the bike, hop off the bike, and you can see what your sag is, and then you can also see how much travel. There's a little rubber. It's on this side of the bike, so I'm sure you'll get a shot of it. On this side there's also a rubber. If you remove that rubber, you can see actually the O-ring on the shock as well. But you could see from the outside that sag meters are really useful.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk a little bit more about the spec on the bike. For example, this fantastic looking cockpit with this one-piece bar and stem. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is the Hickson IC integrated cockpit. On this bike we're running a 780 wide bar. It's got a sweep of 8 degrees, and this being a medium, the small and medium get a 15mm rise, and large and extra large get a 25mm rise.
Let's talk a little bit about the dropper post as well. We've got different sizes throughout the range for different frame sizes. Is that something we've got?
Yeah, so what we've done here is we've actually got the Syncross, the newest Syncross dropper, and they've done a really clever job of keeping the cartridge quite short, and it means that we can fit a really lengthy drop in the sizes. This being a medium, this has got a 180 drop, which is a good amount. The small gets a 140, and the large and extra large get a 210.
Is there any adjustment with those posts? Yeah,
so by this collet here, there's a adjustment just by rotating the sleeve inside, so you can do a stepped reduction in the travel.
Oh, perfect, so you can fine-tune the perfect spot.
Yeah.
Nick, you mentioned the range extender earlier. Can you tell us a little bit more about the range extender?
Yeah, so the range extender on this model, so this is the Voltage SL, which is the top of the range, pretty much carbon everything, even saddle rails are carbon wheels. With this bike, you actually get the range extender with it.
Included straight out of the box?
Yeah, out of the box. It comes with the bike. Any bike below this doesn't come with the range extender, but it's a really nice addition to have for the bike. So it's going to add, we've got 360, like I said before, in the down tube, and you add 160 watt-hours with the range extender, so giving you a total of 520 watt-hours, which is a fair amount for a lightweight e-bike. It's so easy to basically charge up. You pull this rubber off here, and you would charge it through there. It will charge through the range extender into the main battery, and it'll charge the main battery first until that's full, and then it will charge the range extender until it's completely full. And
will the bike use the range extender's power first and then move on to the main battery if you're out riding?
Exactly, so somewhere like here you could set off with, it will come up on the screen with 150, when it's fully charged it'll say 150%. So you could go out and do a few laps. It will drain the range extender first, and then you can quite simply unclip it, drop it off in your bag or at home or whatever, and then carry on without it. And the weights I quoted before, the 17.9, is without the range extender. The range extender is about 950 grams. So there's a little button on there, you unclip that, you pull the plug out, obviously making sure that
you've plugged it back in.
Plugs in, and that's how neat it is. As it is like that, this plate stays there, and a lot of e-bikes you can't run in a bottle. So you can see that I've got a bottle on here, we've got the range extender, we've taken the range extender off, and it seems a shame not to use that space. If you are wanting to go for a long trail ride where you're going to put a lot of energy in yourself and you need 2 bottles, there's a plate that comes with the bike. it's screwed to the secondary bottle cage. You slide it in there and you can fit 2 bottles and you're away.
I suppose this is one of the pluses of having a shock mounted inside the frame, is that you can then access a lot more space inside the frame triangle.
Yeah.
For things like that, for features like that. Okay, so we've got around 160 millimeters travel up front and around 155 at the back, 29-inch wheels front and rear. What kind of rider is this aimed at? What kind of riding is this aimed at, this bike?
Yeah, so this bike's really aimed at somebody that wants to go out riding and maybe go a bit further than they would normally. They actually want to press on the pedals, so it rewards you for your cadence and it rewards you for your effort, and that's totally tunable in the app. So you can adjust the assist level, you can adjust the power level, and you can even adjust the pedal response in each of the 3 modes. So it has 3 modes. We have eco, mid and full, and that's totally tunable in the app. It's really easy, and we can show you that in a little while. We'll test that out.
Yeah.
You can even adjust that on the fly. So I've been riding with my wife on the TQ bike, and she's been giving me a hard time, and I just open the app. She thinks I'm taking a picture, and I just knock the sliders down a little bit, apply to bike, and it's done. You can reset them really quickly as well. It's a bike, I would say this is a bike, it's a mountain biker's e-bike. It's so natural, it's such a subtle delivery of power. It's silent, and if you've got mates, if you're a little bit less fit than your friends that are not on e-bikes, you could certainly join a non-e-bike ride on this bike and have a really good time without annoying your friends. There'd probably, so many people don't even know it's an e-bike. Because it's so silent, because it's so natural, it feels great. And it's a great bike for going out further, going out longer, and just being out there. But it's also a bike that does make you, it's definitely a bike to make you fitter. So you're certainly not riding an e-bike. There's not many people like me that enjoy riding e-bikes, but this system on R2 bikes, so the Voltage and on the Lumen, really make me want to go e-biking.
It's not a bike that's going to do, it's not going to do all the work for you, but you're going to get that reward on the trail as well because of how light and agile it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to give you a max of 300 watts, but 300 watts on top of what I've got is quite a few
It's more
watts.
than enough, yeah.
Yeah, and I used to be a XC racer at World Cup level, and I'm 55 now, and I haven't got the legs or the power I used to have. And when I ride this bike now, I just feel like I suppose I could say that I feel like Nino, I feel like I used to.
Yeah.
And it's keeping me feeling young, and we don't just go biking I go biking to keep fit, but I also go biking to be in this amazing nature. And one of the things that annoys me is the noise that e-bikes make. So for me, one of the key things with this is the quietness. It's super quiet.
Okay, let's move on to these controls on the handlebar. We've got 3 levers down here. I believe it's called twin lock.
That's right. So this is twin lock. It's something that we've had around for many years now, and it's it really hands the control of it alters the geometry of the bike, and the rider can control what they want from it. So in its current form there, it's in full travel. So like you said, 160, 155, one click on here, and now we've put a platform in the front, and we've actually raised the back of the bike, so the sag point is actually higher. So you'll get better pedal clearance, slightly steeper seat angle and head angle, and it just feels, particularly if you wear a hip pack or a backpack, you tend to sit back in the travel of a bigger travel bike when you go up a steep climb.
Yes.
That alleviates that completely. Yeah, it still gives you the grip, and it still gives you
all the traction you want to climb. Yeah.
One more click on there, and you're fully locked out front and rear on the twin lock. To bring it back, soft click brings it halfway, and click back, it's in full travel. If you press that harder, it will go back in
all the way
move.
back to, yeah.
The lower lever is the dropper, so the cable dropper through to the rear post.
So this is the top spec in the range. What other models are there below this one for riders?
So there's 4 models in the range for the men's, and there's 2 Contessa's women's models. This is the SL, so it's pretty much carbon everything. It's got the Revelstoke 1.0S wheels in there with DT 240 hubs. So the bike under the SL, this being 11,700-ish, is the tuned model. The tuned model is one in the range that is actually slightly different in a few aspects, and one of them, we talked about the twin lock, and it's actually got a ride lock.
So a completely different system?
Yeah, it looks the same. You got the lever, you got the three levers, but the difference being there's no cable to the front fork. So on here we've got the Fit 4 damper, and on the Tune model you get the Grip 2 damper.
So it's just controlling the rear shock on the Tune model?
Yeah, and it controls it in a different way as well, because the rear shock's got a Fox X Float Nude, and that's an air piggyback shock. So there's a motor, there's a battery, there's a lot going on in there, and they've found room to fit also
full piggyback shock.
A piggyback air shock, which is brilliant. So with the ride lock and that shock, you have 3 settings that are slightly different. The fully open setting, and then in the mid setting, it's like ramp. It's a ramp setting. So
still got access to all of that travel, but it ramps up towards the end.
Yeah, it ramps it more, so it's not a bike park bike, but if you're good at your jumps and you're going to go in the woods and you're going to throw the bike around, the ramp can be a really handy setting. And then in its climb mode, we'll call it, it's not fully locked out like on here, so it's going to
just a bit more compression just to help with climbing, I guess.
Yeah. And underneath that, there's a 910 and a 920 model, and in the Contessa, there's a 900 and a 910. They match the 2 lower specs. So what is amazing with the voltage range, when I think about it, is the fact that the Contessa 910 and the 920 model, both starting at £6,099. It's the same frame as this.
Same full carbon frame.
You get an HMF frame, carbon, and I know a lot of other brands you would only get alloy at that price point. You always get the same system. You always get the 360 watt hour. You're getting the same 50 Newton meter TQ motor, and you're getting all the same features, just slightly different spec. One other thing on here is this is on transmission. And one of the things that well, basically it's a wireless tram system, but this is hardwired into the battery.
Right, okay.
So on this model it's hardwired, so you do have to turn the screen on to be able to change gear, but that uses virtually no power. But
it's one less battery to worry about charging because you're running it straight off of the system.
Yeah, and this is the first bike where we've done that with just a Y-splitting cable, so it's charging it through the screen. So in here, when we use the TQ system on our gravel and road range, we have a smart box in here for using that, but this works just off the power directly.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, that wraps up our first look at the Scott Voltage eRIDE. Nick, thanks for bringing it down for us to look at.
Thank you.
If you like the video, then give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more video reviews coming out in the future.